the 3-2-6 a lot too. So we'll just have to see, and I think that's going to be more situational than anything. But I think that the base that they're going to run is going to be that 3-2-6. With the second level, I think that Michael Scherer's got. Oh, I think he's got an embarrassment of riches to a point, because you're going to see Drew Sanders come in there. We talked to Drew DeArmond from Huntsville, Alabama, ESPN, The Fan, and he said that Drew's going to be a possible All SEC linebacker. And you're going to see how Bumper is able to help Drew, and you're going to see how Drew's able to help Bumper. I think there's going to be a great partnership with them back there. With Drew Sanders' speed, it's going to be incredibly hard for some of these folks to handle him on a play in and play out basis. And I really believe that you're going to see the production of Drew Sanders wrapped up into one, and you can add Grant Morgan and you can add Hayden Henry possibly. With the type of production that those two guys had, you can see that with Drew Sanders. When we look at linebackers, for instance, for just a moment from the University of Arkansas, and indulge me for just a minute when I say this. When you looked at losing the production that the Razorbacks lost at any given position, and you had another person stepping into that role, the common thread in thought was you were going to be losing a little bit, and it was going to take you a year for you to recoup that production that senior had. And more than likely, you were having a player step into that role that was a sophomore, maybe a rising junior, and that didn't have the snaps that person had. May not have had the production that they had coming out of the season previous. So you have a player coming in and filling in for the two seniors. That's different than any other player that you've ever had. A player that's came from a great system in Alabama. He has intangibles that you cannot match. Being 6'5", 230, runs like a deer, can meet Malik Hornsby on the corner. And you haven't had that here at the University of Arkansas. So I think that we're going to be very delightfully surprised on how he's able to progress quickly and adapt to Coach Odom's system here for the 22 season. Another quick thought here is that with the secondary, we see that there's a lot of buzz about Latavius Brini and then Dwight McGlothern. The two transfers, one Brini from Georgia, McGlothern from LSU. And those guys are bringing elite speed. And they're also bringing a lot of experience into both of those rooms for both, for safeties and for the defensive backs, or sorry, corners. So I think that I came into SEC Media Day kind of touting that there's a possibility that Sam Pittman was saying, "Hey, my defense may be a little bit better than my offense." I don't know if that's maybe true. I think one of the reasons why was because they were wanting to bring one of the offensive linemen said it wasn't quite his deal as far as the media and stuff, and that's fine. And that's why he brought Bumper and Cat and KJ. But I think that the defense is going to be extremely special. I think the special teams are going to be really special too. Do not sleep on Scott Fountain. He is going to have that special teams unit whipped into shape. Talked a little bit about white special teams with you're looking at maybe Isaiah Satania, Green, AJ Green, and Bryce Stevens. There are going to be viable options as kick returners. And then, of course, you've got Hazelwood and Sanders and a couple others in the mix there for kickoff returns. So I think that's going to be quite it's going to be a real treat to see kind of how the special teams are able to evolve from year 1 to year 3, and hell, even from year 2 to year 3, because it wasn't that long ago that, special teams was not very special. Making ESPN not top 10 for the wrong reasons. So we're going to move on to basketball, and I know that Arkansas had quite an interesting up and down game for their last win of their European tour. And they ended up taking their final game. They were 4-0 in the European tour, and they ended up winning 74-59. It was a 14-point win. Talked a little bit about Trevor Brazile. Nick Smith did get a little nicked up in that game. Had a knee sprain. Felt like it was a pretty low-grade knee sprain, and he could have possibly won in the second half if need be. But Coach Musselman, of course, said that there was no reason, and honestly, there is no reason, to put him back out there in an exhibition game. I mean, if it was, Elite 8, Sweet 16, we're going to be seeing him, but we didn't, then that's fine. And he had through the first 3 games, Nick Smith was averaging 18 points a game. He had 20, 17, and 17 in the first 3 games. And you look at those numbers, and those are Moses Moody numbers. He's tearing it up at the NBA, and I know that a lot of people are real high on Anthony Black. I think that Jordan Walsh is going to be kind of his game really looks like a lot like Richard Jefferson in the NBA, and I think that that's what that's going to kind of translate to. But I mean, Arkansas's got the length that's going to make some nightmarish nights for some of these SEC coaches. So, Black, he looks like that facilitator of the group, and Nick Smith kind of playing that off guard whenever you need some quick points. And if need be, both of those switching out to create a mismatch. I think that you're going to see all 3 guards with Devo playing all 3 spots, and I also see even maybe an Anthony Black playing a 4 or a point forward, kind of like with what LeBron James type has, what he plays, or maybe even a Draymond Green, just because of the sheer size. But I think that you're going to see a lot of mismatches that Coach Musselman is going to be able to create. And They got a lot of great tape from this series here in Europe, but I have to believe that his bench is going to expand this year. I know that the first 3 years it was 7 and that's it. I got a rotation of 2 guys off the bench, and then everybody else, unless God forbid somebody gets into foul trouble, that'll be it. I don't think that's going to happen this year. I think you're going to see that his bench is going to go 9 deep. With the guys that he has on this team, with Trevor Brazile, the twins from Rhode Island, and Jalen Graham, transfer from Arizona State. You don't have 5 positions, and Kamani Johnson, that guy, I don't know what happened to him over the offseason, but a switch flip for that guy. And that was a breath of fresh air as well. So I think it's going to be really great for the coming 6 weeks to see what the coaching staff is able to do with this team, helping them improve so that whenever they step on the floor in November, they're going to look to get out of the gate, and try to go undefeated up until SEC play into December. So we want to kind of move now to our Pro Hog update for just a few moments. Now, there was NFL Preseason that was really starting to ramp up. All teams did get their first week of practice or games in. And we'll kind of go over this, and I want to thank Matt Hall from Hog Sports at Facebook group. They have an amazing group over there, and he did due diligence in collecting all of the Razorbacks stat lines from the first week of NFL preseason games, and I want to thank him for letting me use his stat sheet. He sent me a message last night, said that he had everything updated, and so without any further ado, we're looking at Treylon Burks. He had 1 rush for 4 yards, no catches, and only 1 target. Jeremy Sprinkle with the Dallas Cowboys had 2 catches off 3 targets and had 16 yards. John Ridgway for the Dallas Cowboys. They didn't think, I was listening to Babe Laufenberg in their going into the game, and he was talking about maybe not seeing John Ridgway a lot. He had a leg injury, or has a leg injury, I should say, and they didn't know quite what his availability was, and they didn't know if they were going to keep him on the shelf. I think they were trying to get him out there to see what he had. Limited action, he had 1 tackle. Sosa, game for Denver, he only had 1 tackle. Jonathan Williams, breath of fresh air over in Washington here with Cam Curl and Scooter Harris. Jonathan Williams had 5 rushes for 31 yards. Cam Curl had 2 tackles. I think he had just some limited play there in the first quarter. And then Scooter Dijon Harris had 1 tackle as well. Fayetteville's pride and joy, Brandon Allen, he was 3 for 3 for 29 yards. I think that they're wanting to keep him pretty fresh, not get him nicked up, because he's going to be the primary backup for Joe Burrow. And that Super Bowl run that they had last year, and they're going to see what they can do to back that up. Jonathan Marshall for the New York Jets only had 1 tackle. Buster Brown had 5 tackles for Jacksonville. And Grant Morgan had 2 tackles for Jacksonville. And then Felipe Franks of this I think this is kind of an interesting maneuver for the Falcons here, converting Felipe to a tight end. I think we've all seen a little bit of I think we've seen some highlights from different Facebook groups of him out there. He had 1 catch on 2 targets for 5 yards, and he also trucked a guy in practice. And then Armon Watts, he was able to get out there for the Minnesota Vikings. He had 2 tackles and a sack, and that will wrap it up for your Pro Hog NFL Preseason Week 1 update. And when we have more information from any of that, we will definitely get you guys all that information. And again, I want to thank Adam Hall for all of that, all of